getting mud thrown in my face. It's just I think it's the core of what we do, you know, and at the cup level. It's grassroots racing, and, you know, I think you know, I'm just partial to it.
Hear the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series tomorrow night from Eldora Speedway on MRN. I'm Susie Armstrong, and this is the World of Racing on the Motor Racing Network.
This is NASCAR Coast to Coast. 60 minutes of NASCAR local and regional racing talk, interviews, and opinions. Now your hosts, Buddy Long and Brendan Guaghan.
Well, Pitkat and Szegedy take the Granite State by storm. Byron returns back to the top in the K&N Pro Series East, and we'll chat with one of the all-time great ambassadors of the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West. It's Tuesday, July 21st. Welcome to the Week 24 edition of NASCAR Coast to Coast. I'm Buddy Long, as you heard, joined by NASCAR Sprint Cup Series and Xfinity Series driver Brendan Guaghan, as Kyle Rickey is headed up to the 1-800-CAR Cash Mud Summer Classic, a race in which our co-host is very familiar with.
Nice. And the year I ran it, Tony Stewart went through the whole field to shake everybody's hand, say, good luck, good luck. And he got to my car, and I heard them over the loudspeaker say that the 50-50 drawing was $50,000 for the 50% side. You're like, the winner got – and I told him, I said, hey, do me a favor. Go buy me a couple tickets. He goes, why? I said, because it'll probably pay more than winning the race.
Oh, my Lord. But you, I know you had a great time. We were just talking about that before we got on the air today. Two of the most memorable races in Camping World Truck Series history. Everybody remembers the Norm Benning story 2 years ago.
Oh, my God. It was me, Richard, and Austin Dillon were watching out in turn 1 and 2. And, I mean, he was digging for it. Norm Benning doesn't get a lot of press often. And, you know, Normie is just Normie. But, wow, is that a heck of a way to start? What a way to come to dirt.
Absolutely.
Norm Benning and Clay Greenfield made a statement that NASCAR was going to come back to Eldora right there. Didn't matter what happened in the next race. That right there to me was saying, oh, yeah, this is why the fans came. It's so much fun. And then last year, you had Kyle Larson, who I don't think he believed that there was a wall. He just was hitting the wall as a cushion.
Yep.
And then Bubba Wallace, who's never been on dirt.
That was incredible.
You never know what's going to happen at Eldora. I'm so bummed I'm not racing there. I really wish I could get something going to go back there because it is so much fun.
Oh, absolutely. And you're one of the guys. You're what I call my rim rider. You're the rim rider because everybody talks about, and I use the top shelf slogan at some point in my broadcast with MRN. You're usually one of my top shelf recipients. And, I mean, when you think of Eldora, you think of the dirt cushion, you think of the wall.
But the difference is that the cushion at Eldora, it starts, this wide, and then by the end of the race, it's like about that wide that you're trying to find that wet spot. And it is so much fun.
Yeah, I bet.
It takes so much talent to run that high groove there. And what was really cool is in the trucks the year I ran it, they did such a great job with the dirt that the lane actually moved down. It got so much grip that you could move down into that away from the cushion and get some grip. But, man, you have to learn how to read dirt. There's so many facets that go into it, and it was so much fun. Wish I was there, but excited for the boys going back this week.
Well, you're going to get a ride again because I'm sure that race is coming back again next year because it's so popular.
It better be.
Two greatest weeks in dirt, the Kings Royal last weekend that Shane Stewart won, and the Mud Summer Classic coming up. Well, I shouldn't even say 2 weeks. It's less than a week between the two of them, so it's going to be good. Going to take you back in time a little bit more, not just to last year or 2 years ago when you ran the truck race at Eldora, but one of our guests today, Bill McAnally, as we mentioned, one of the great ambassadors to the sport of NASCAR on the K&N Western level. I want to say that. You can rebut that with Bill when he gets on.
I would never rebut that. McAnally, tell you want to talk about a self-made – this guy was a plumber. I mean, he was digging ditches, and he got this little bitty team in Roseville, was doing street stocks and late models. He walked into a Napa Auto Parts store one day and got a sponsorship of a handful of Napa filters.
Wow.
Sold them to make money to go race. And now he is –
and that's how
Chase Elliott is what everybody thinks of Napa right now. You know, he is the face of the big national – but – Bill McAnally is the heart and soul of the Napa racing program.
Absolutely.
He's got K&N East and K&N West. He built 2 Napa Auto Parts stores and has his race shop in one of them. That's out in Roseville, California.
Yeah.
It's what Bill has turned himself into is absolutely amazing. Love him to death and really excited that he's going to be on today.
Hey, we're going to talk about that more, about his expansion into the East. Nick Drake, one of his drivers, having a good top 5 run over the weekend. William Byron, we talked about him a few moments ago, the race in which Nick finished 4th. Byron, I think the competitors smelled blood in the water the last 2 races because he was 14th and 15th, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. Hell must have frozen over.
Look at Mars.
He's got goosebumps.
I'm telling you,
You do.
I was in McAnally's pit box for the K&N East race, watching Nick Drake sitting with crew chief and the kid. Every time right now he's very hitting. Like either he is, you don't even talk about him.
Yep.
But when what is he? I read the stats. He led 74 or 76 laps at New Hampshire. He led 168 of 170 somewhere else this year. Led 98 of 100. I mean, when the boy wins, he is killing them.
He absolutely is. And Byron will be a part. He's been a guest for like 2 or 3 times already this year. The winner
when you dominate and win, you get a guest on radio shows. Way to go, kid.
Well, he's trying to do what Ben Rhodes did a year ago. We had Ben on, it seemed like every other week. We finally had to say, okay, we got to get to the second or third place guy. Ben's just killing us here, but William's done a great job. Teammate Scott Heckert came home second in the event. Great run for Kaz Gralla. He was third. Nick Drake, as we mentioned, fourth. And Austin Hill, the top 5. Right now, Byron leads Austin by 29 points. Series heads to a good combo race at the Iowa Speedway. Not this weekend, but next weekend. That's where East meets West. And the last time they were there, Brandon McReynolds for Bill McAnally got the win, and Byron was second.
And it was the first time a West team has won that race.
Yes.
It has always been dominated by the East, so McAnally and Brandon McReynolds did a phenomenal job getting that win for the West. That was a marquee win for the West Coast Series because they always get kind of considered the redheaded stepchild, so to speak. They're on the left coast. Nobody thinks about them.
Right.
So it was a really big deal for Napa and for Bill and Brandon, which, way to go, Brandon. I mean, he could be racing East or West. It doesn't matter. But Bill's got him on the West Coast, and that was a big win for them. Chris
Eggleston, the points leader on the western side, only by a point over Noah Gregson right now, one of the drivers for Jefferson Pitts Racing.
And Noah, he's a Las Vegas boy. His father and I have been friends for 30 years.
I figured that would have to come in there somewhere.
I turned around. I was at where I can't remember where I was this year, and I turned around and I hear a text message from Scott. His father goes, "Hey, nice job today," and I'm like, "How'd you see me do?" It was an interview. I'm like, "How'd you see that?" He goes, "I'm here." I totally forgot that Noah is racing the West. So proud of him, and you better watch out. There's another little boy coming up, Riley Herbst.
Oh, okay.
He's coming soon. He's right there with Noah. He's going to be the next guy you're hearing out from the West.
And that's something we're going to touch on with Bill and yourself when we get into that segment with him about the transformation of the West, because a couple of years ago, and I wouldn't say it was stagnant, but there wasn't a whole lot of activity going on. You had a good crop, but all of a sudden the influx of rookie talent has just blown up out there.
It was stagnant, period. The West Series was struggling. It's still struggling, but it was really not looking dark and dim. And some owners did some great jobs. Jerry Pitts and did that deal. You've got McAnally, of course, who now runs 3 teams. 4 teams.
We'll
have to ask
on
him
a lazy day, it's 3.
We're going to have to ask him how many exactly. And then you got the Sunrise Ford. And
Bob Brancotti.
Brancotti, who runs, you've got some great owners out there who put some money in the series, who get some great kids in their race cars, and they've done a good job of building the talent back up. And Brandon McReynolds out there. You've got Eggleston. You've got Gregson. You've got some great young talent. And I'm sorry we're talking about the West, but I got to jump back. Rico Abreu.
Oh yeah,
to
absolutely.
Me, it's just, I think it's a phenomenal story. But forget about the story. The kid can frickin' drive.
Absolutely. I mean, going from open wheels, whether it be a midget car one weekend, a World of Outlaws sprint car, and then a big-bodied stock car. And the biggest thing he has said is just hitting his marks and concentrating. You're running a 30-lap sprint race. That can be over in like 8 minutes. When you have a 150-lap K&N race, it's just staying focused. And you go through the same thing every weekend, staying focused for 200, 250 laps, 300 miles.
I got lucky that the desert, at times, we're in the car 20 hours. So you had to learn how to stay focused.
Right.
When you're racing the Baja 1000 and you're doing it Ironman style, 18 hours in the race car, you have to learn certain things to keep your mind on what you're doing. So he's had to do the opposite way. Rico's had to go from these 30-lap, 50-lap, where a lot of the short track guys come from.
Right.
And you have to learn how to keep that focus, maintain it, and all these kids do a great job, but I'm just really impressed. And I got to see Rico's race car for the first time. I went over intentionally just to look at it. It's so cool. I'm sorry, how NASCAR got the seat in, and permitted the brake, the clutch and the brakes to be mounted off of the dashboard bar and all. Phenomenal job, and there's some things that people don't talk about. He's going to have heat, like his brake. Wow, I'm a race car driver and I can't remember the word for my master cylinders. Thank you.
Don't look at me then.
Wow, I just
all I could say was brake duct.
Yeah, no, but his master cylinders, when you're
brake rotors,
when you're a road course and you're at stuff like this, the brake fluid will get hot. It recirculates through the brake back into the master cylinder. It will create heat. That's why they're on the outside of our firewall. Mm-hmm. It helps keep that heat outside the inside of the car. He doesn't have that.
Wow.
His are going to be in the car, so he's going to have a different issue with heat, and he's going to have to be tough to do it. So I'm super proud of him, super proud of all these kids right now. They're really making NASCAR look like the few. I mean, you got Ty Dillon, Austin Dillon, those guys that look great, Chase Elliott. But you do have a crop even coming behind us. This sport's going to be strong a long time.
Absolutely. Also on the show today as we get set to go to break, Woody Pitkat, the winner of the NASCAR Whelen Modified All-Star Race. He'll join us in a few moments. And Todd Szegedy brings the Mystic Missile back to victory lane for team owner Bob Garbarino. That's another great story. He has been hot as of late. We're going to step aside for a moment. When we come back, we're going to visit Bill McAnally out on the West Coast.
NASCAR Coast to Coast will be right back on MRN.com.
When your AC stops blowing cold air, find relief during O'Reilly Auto Parts Murray AC Month. While you may need to eventually service your AC, get immediate relief with Interdynamics R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy two, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is Steve Post.
And I'm Kendra Jacobs.
Join us every Saturday morning at 9:30 Eastern Time for MRN's Wing Nation on MAV TV.
We'll talk with the biggest names in wing sprint car racing, from the world of outlaws to your local wing sprint car track. We cover it all.
Plus, we'll preview each weekend's biggest wing sprint car races from around the country.
MRN's Wing Nation, 9:30 Eastern Time, Saturday mornings on MAV TV.
If you don't get MAV TV, go to getmavtv.com to find your local TV provider and let them know you want MAV TV.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast. Here's Buddy Long and Brendan Gaughan.
As we mentioned earlier, the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West has the weekend off. They'll be back in action 2 weekends from now at the Iowa Speedway in Newton, Iowa. Chris Eggleston leads Noah Gragson by 1 point. We talked about the parity with these young kids and these drivers, the veterans out there with David Mayhew and Brandon McReynolds as well. Top 5 separated by just 13 points. And leading that cause is Chris Eggleston, the driver of the Napa Toyota, the 99 car, one of many beautiful Napa cars that we have seen on the K&N Pro Series West and East. And this weekend, as we mentioned, Nick Drake also took a 4th-place finish in the United Site Services 70th New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Joining us is his team owner, and that is Bill McAnally, the owner of all these Napa Toyotas. Bill, first off, welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast. I said Brandon again.
Brandon McReynolds drives for him. It's okay.
Brandon McGaughan. I'll say Brandon McGaughan. He's been telling tales on you already, Bill, so we're going to have to get you on here just to clean some of these rumors up right now. But welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be on with you. Don't believe a thing Brendan said.
Whoa, come on, Mac Daddy. You know, I'm always telling good stories. Although I'm sorry about Craig. Our producer Craig screwed up and gave Bill the wrong time today. So McAnally was gracious enough to call it 12:10 and 1:10. So.
Oh, okay.
Well, I thought that along with the O'Reilly's commercial when I said on hold word from you, Brendan.
We won the O'Reilly's race a lot, sir. We always put Napa Auto Parts when it mattered. That's our job.
That's right.
Well, owner of the Napa Toyotas, as we mentioned, for Chris Eggleston, newest into the series this year. I mean, Chris isn't a rookie. He's not one of the many rookies that we have, but I kind of consider him that to the series to a degree. He leads your points. Brandon McReynolds has got a big victory at the Iowa Speedway in the combo race. As Brendan mentioned earlier, not too many times has a Western driver won that combo event, which to me is the K&N version of the All-Star race for these drivers, and then Nick Drake doing a great job for you. You've really put together a great team on the West and on the East.
No, we've got some great talent this year, and just like you were saying, it's a tight points battle. There's a lot of great talent this K&N series, both on the west side of the states and the east this year, and there are definitely a lot of young and up-and-coming drivers that are out there getting it done this year, and we're just glad to be a part of it and getting all our drivers in the winner's circle and contending for that championship. Chris is doing a great job, and by 1 point, we got to keep him there.
So how are you managing, Bill? And this is even, and I know you well, but you've got a team in North Carolina, and you've got your big teams, you know, your multiple teams in Roseville, California. How are you managing the two sides of the country thing?
Well, just like anything else, it takes a lot of good people to get it done, and we've got a great team. We put a shop together. Joe Custer originally started building a team for his son Cole out there, and he realized real quick he didn't want to be a team owner. He had enough on his plate.
A lot of us have realized that.
he gave me the opportunity to pick up a team that he had assembled, and they had won a race at New Hampshire and were real strong contenders. They won Iowa. So I had the chance to pick up a team that was developed and functioning and winning races, and it was a great opportunity for us to enhance our West program. I think there's a lot of great tracks on the East schedule. Brendan, back when you drove for us, the West had some of the more Cup national touring tracks, NASCAR national touring tracks, than the East did, but the tables have turned, and now the East has a lot of great tracks that young and upcoming drivers want to spend time on, so it really enhances our program to have the East available. We can start out here West and move a young driver to the East, and I think we've got the best of both worlds now.
And that's been two of the big storylines, the tracks that you're running at this year. The schedule was really great when Kyle and I saw it come out. It's a variety of tracks that have been around for many years. Some you guys may have raced on in the past, or maybe some that are totally new to you as far as the K&N program. And then the other side of that, the rookie story and how well they have progressed in such a short period of time when you probably came in, and we as members of the media say, okay, right off the bat, if it's going to be Greg Pursley retiring, Dylan Lupton moving to the NASCAR Xfinity Series, heir appearance to the throne, Brandon McReynolds, David Mayhew. It's not that easy because you have a host of rookies that have done a tremendous job.
No, there's some amazing talent, and the points are tight. There's a lot of people out there leading laps and winning races. With Jeff Jefferson and Jerry Pitts starting a new multiple car team, I think they've raced 3 cars every race this year. They've introduced a lot of new talent to the series, great new team owners, and then we've got staple team owners that have been around, Bob Berncani, and we've got Nicole Brihar out of the Northwest racing for her dad, but just a lot of young talent, team owners finding the talent. James Stickford's doing a great job, Ryan Partridge. There's, Grayson Raz. There's just a lot of young kids that are getting it done out here. Looking forward to seeing where they wind up.
Do you feel like you want to go back on the West Coast to some of the bigger tracks again? You've touched on it. When you and I are together, and we talked about this weekend, Bill and I, when we won Winston West, K&N Pro Series West Championships together, we ran Las Vegas Motor Speedway, California Speedway, Kansas Speedway, what else did we Pikes Peak International Race. We ran some pretty big tracks. Do you want to get back to any of the big tracks, or do you think the West Coast should stay kind of on the smaller places like you're doing now?
Well, I know where NASCAR's thinking is and why they've done that. When they brought the age limit down to 15, they anything a mile or larger, they took off our schedule, and that's understandable. But the problem is to develop a driver on the West Coast. Those tracks, we only have so many national touring tracks out here to develop these kids on, and it would be great if we could get California and Vegas back on the schedule. You can hurt yourself at Dover and Bristol as bad as you can at California and Vegas, and I understand them wanting to keep it safe for the kids, and they drew the line at 1 mile or larger. I get that, but it does, and it's pushed me into starting an East team just to be able to give the development to these kids on tracks the National Series runs on. And
that's a point. McAnally is right. There's only on the West Coast, they're all 2 mile California, mile and a half Vegas. All the tracks are big tracks. You're right. I didn't realize they took it to 15, and my goodness, no wonder it went to mile or under. No offense to the 15. But that's a pretty small child that you're putting in a race car there. So I didn't realize that's more of the reason why they did it, and that makes sense to me. So it is tough to get back on the big tracks again.
Well, Brendan, you hit on these kids being 15, but it's amazing at 15 years old how mature they are, how respectful they are of the equipment. There's some 15-year-olds. I got to remind myself at times I'm talking to a 15-year-old kid because it's like talking to a man at times.
Well, you mean I wasn't respectful? When
oh, here we go.
Oh, wait, we want to. We didn't go.
We need a whole other show for this conversation.
And we've seen some of the drivers on the West, like James Bickford, Nicole Bihar. They came over to take part in the NASCAR Next program at the Hall of Fame a couple of months ago, and to the credit of what Bill is saying, it's just amazing. Not only the level of talent you're seeing at such a younger age now, but how well they're developed by virtue of how they handle themselves with the media, and that's a big part of the NASCAR Next program. It's getting them in there, not just to develop them on track, but away from the racetrack as well. And these kids are doing a tremendous job.
Well, and then you get guys like Bill who are doing a good job giving them good equipment.
Yes.
And like Bill said, Brancotti, there's guys there's good team owners, and it makes sense to me why they're on only the short tracks now. It bums me out because I miss the days when Bill and I would be at Las Vegas. We did the inaugural race at Kansas. I mean, there was a lot of fun stuff we did, but it definitely makes sense why they're doing it. And then since Bill's on here now, I can make the public plug. We got to get Riley Herbst over in the mix with McAnally. I got to make the plug for my boy Riley. Get him in with McAnally.
No, we're always looking for talent. Matter of fact, we've got 4 young kids that we're going to be testing here at the end of August. I'm looking for that new talent, so always on the look for that. We've got great partners that enjoy developing the young talent. I mean, Brendan, after you drove for us, there was a lot of people running around with Jasper shirts and hats, and they were following Brendan Guaghan. But no, we enjoy what we're doing. But one thing about those smaller tracks on the West, it's important to get NASCAR into some of these key markets. Like we were just at Spokane, Washington, and some of these markets we get into, Seattle, Washington, Denver, Colorado. Those are big markets that have an absence of NASCAR, and it's amazing to be able to take the NASCAR K&N into those markets and showcase NASCAR and create new NASCAR fans. And I wouldn't want to give that up for anything. I want the bigger tracks, but it's great to get into those strong markets that have no other NASCAR exposure.
Well, Bill, we could spend 2 hours talking to you, and I really wish we could because we would love to pick your brain about so many other things. But unfortunately, our time is up on this segment of the program. But thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of NASCAR Coast to Coast. You're a huge part of it each and every week, and we thank you for what you do, your major contributions on and off the racetrack.
Well, thank you very much. Take care, Brendan.
Thanks, McAnally.
We'll talk to you all soon.
Miss you, bud.
All right, Bill McAnally, again, the owner of the Napa Toyotas for West Points leader Chris Eggleston and Brandon McReynolds, and also for Nick Drake on the East. And I'm sure we'll be talking about those Napa Toyotas many more times in the future. When we return on this week's edition of NASCAR Coast to Coast, we are going to talk to the newest winner of the NASCAR Whelen All-American All-Star Race for the Modifieds. Woody Pitkat joins us on the other side.
Coming back with more of NASCAR Coast to Coast, it's Kyle Rickey and Buddy Long right after this.
The road to victory lane isn't just for drivers anymore. Introducing the official daily fantasy game of NASCAR at DraftKings.com, America's favorite daily fantasy sports site. Just pick a team of 5 drivers and stay under the salary cap. Outscore your opponents and win. Hurry to DraftKings.com now and use promo code COAST to play for free. You could win part of the $1 billion in prizes being awarded this year. Enter COAST to play for free now at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
Hi, this is NASCAR Live's Eli Gold. For over 30 years, you've been asking questions to your favorite drivers every Tuesday night. Well, you don't have to wait for Tuesday any longer. Call Motor Racing Network's brand new fan hotline at 844-4ASK-MRN to leave a question or comment for your favorites.
The NFL plays regular season games at Wembley in London. So what are your thoughts about how NASCAR could expand internationally?
Be a part of the voice of NASCAR. Call 844-4ASK-MRN.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast. Here's Buddy Long and Brendan Gaughan.
Well, as we mentioned, Woody Pitkat, the Buzz 2 Racing team, scored a huge victory over the weekend on Friday night at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, taking the second edition of the NASCAR Whelen Modified All-Star Shootout. Pitkat, who led the early portion of the event, they do take a break around lap 20 or so. They have to invert. Woody went back to the third row, and that didn't bother him at all. 15 laps.
Amazing last lap, too. New Hampshire Modifieds are the greatest racing we get. Eldora, New Hampshire Modifieds, it's like if you're a true racing aficionado, those are what you love. And the last lap Woody Pitkat won this thing with was ridiculous.
Second in a row for Woody, actually, dating back to the fall race that he won, the FW Web 100 for the Buzz 2 Motorsports team. Then Ryan Preece, the current leader on the series, came home second, followed by Donnie Leah, Justin Bonsignor, and Bobby Santos III. Woody now joins us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast for, I believe, about the third time this year. And, Woody, I think there's many more to come. Welcome back to Coast. Great job over the weekend, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Wait, where's Kyle?
Kyle is headed to Eldora, so you've got the legendary Brendan Gaughan on with us today.
Woody, don't believe anything they're saying. Legendary.
Erica's going to be so upset. She heard I was coming on the show and wanted me to tell Kyle that she said hello. So I don't know, maybe they're out to lunch or something.
We just figured Kyle aggravated you enough over the weekend that we were going to give you a break as far as Tuesday was concerned, Woodrow.
No, I appreciate that.
Hey, dude, I mean, we kind of took everybody through what happened, just the bits and pieces and some of the highlights of it. But Brendan's been to the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. He's had a chance to watch the modifieds. Obviously, Kyle and I have. It's incredible the amount of lead changes that go on, the drafting that goes on, the picking your partners and doing what you do. But just take us through.
The last lap. I want to know the last lap, dude.
Let's the heck with the first half of this race. Let's get on this inversion and take us through those final 15 laps.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing there is when you're drafting and you're trying to pass, especially if they're lined up on the outside 4 or 5 deep, it's so hard to do a bottom shot on a guy. If there's 2 or 3 that you're going to do, or a slingshot or however you want to call it. So once I got back up to third there, and Ryan and Donnie were having their own little mini battle, I kind of was like, just trying to see what I was going to be able to do to see what was going to work, and then. I just was like, all right, I got to wait for, one of them to slip so I can get a little bit of a gap in between those two so I can try to pull a pass and then get, in between one of them and get to second. And then I figured I'd be in good shape. So I worked the bottom down in 3 and 4. I think Donnie kind of lifted, and it caught me off guard getting down in a 3. So I kind of just drove her down underneath him in a 3 and off a 4. I cleared him. That was probably with like 4 or 5 to go. And then I got in a second, and I figured, okay, I'm in pretty good shape now, at least, in contention. So I was, passed Ryan one time. He passed me back. And then, he's kind of covering the bottom really well. And I looked a couple times to see if there'd be enough room, but there wouldn't be, the angle getting into the corner would have been real treacherous if I tried to do something there. So, coming for the white, I tried it one more time, and, he blocked pretty good, and I got in the back of him pretty good. And then I just figured, well, let's try the outside and see what will happen. So I drove the thing down in there on the outside, and, he gave me plenty of room, which, that's one thing too. When you're there, you got to, have the respect of the other guys and pretty much know who you're racing with and know if they're going to, give you the room or not. So I drove it on the outside. He gave me some room off the turn, and I thought we were going to be in good shape going down the back straightaway. I saw Donnie was behind me. And then right when I took my eye off the mirror to look ahead, out of the corner of my eye quick, I saw, him like beelining off my mirror, and the spotter told me you're on the outside of 3 wide and getting in the 3. So I was like, oh boy. So I tried to just get in there a little bit harder to make sure if they got together and went up the track, they want to clip me, and kind of just got in there and tried to get back to fuel as quick as I could and got loose. And Ryan was behind me at that point, and I saw him off of 4 and figured he might try to get a run. So I kind of moved down off of 4 to protect, and never knew Donnie was there, and clipped Donnie, and he'd made a great save to not pound the inside wall there, and I apologize to him for that because I never even knew he was there. But just bring it to the checkered, and it was crazy. There's so much stuff going on there. There's so much chaos there at the end there, trying to figure out what you're going to do, who you're going to work with. The spotter's telling you what's going on. You're looking around. There's just so much going on. So to be able to obviously be able to put yourself in the right position and be able to win there is a huge accomplishment.
Now, Brendan, where were you through all this?
I was on top of the hauler watching because we were getting ready for this deal. We were getting ready for we were just getting done with practice, I think, or practice was just about to start. I can't remember which one, but I was on the hauler watching because we all want every driver, whether you're Sprint Cup, Xfinity, I don't care where you are. When you were at New Hampshire, we want to watch the modified race. And I'm watching this last deal, and what I love the most, and Woody said it right there, remember, I'm the outside guy. I like the outside, Woody. Anytime you go to the outside, New Hampshire notoriously does not have much of an outside groove, and he sailed this sucker in on the outside, and I remember going, puckering up, going, I'm telling you, Woody, you had the whole RCR group. We were just pounding. And then, look, you won a race. It's called an all-star race. Now, Buddy and I had a question, though. Is this an invitation? We didn't know how you got to be in the race. Is it invitation only? What is the criteria for being in this race?
Yeah. It's last year was the first year, and it was supposed to be champions. Anybody that's won the championship or has won a race, or was like a rookie of the year and stuff like that.
They had a winning criteria for it to be an all-star race.
Right. So last year I hadn't had one on the tour yet. So, and I race weekly on Friday nights at Stafford. So I didn't even get to watch the race last year. I went and got to Stafford early to work on that deal, and come to find out when I was on my way home to Stafford, they were looking for cars to add to the,
wow.
the race. So yeah,
don't leave the track next time.
Yeah, that's the
Woody,
kind of the
get
same
Brendan a
thing
ride next year for that, okay?
I'll take one.
'Cause this year was the same deal. They added a couple guys, which I can understand, but for the most part, it's supposed to be champions or winners or
the
or
guys
whatever.
up front.
So,
The guys you were racing for the win there. You're talking Donnie Leah. You're talking Ryan Priest. Last year, Ryan Newman, of course, won the race.
Best of the best.
You're talking some phenomenal, modified drivers up from the Northeast. So it's cool to have an all-star race for you guys, and I'm so pumped that you won it the way you did, man. It was awesome to watch.
well, cool. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you guys, were up there. I know Bristol was the same thing when I was down there last year. They said everybody was up on the trailer. So to hear that and to know that we're kind of just, the little guy, the little league in the whole series, to have the big guys watching that, it means a lot to me.
Absolutely, as it should. I mean, everybody wants to watch him, and of course, the combination of that, you guys getting the All-Star race. There's not any other touring series that really have it. We talk about the K&N series that have the combo races at Iowa, and that's not labeled an All-Star race, but it pretty much is everybody there together. But truly, you guys are the only touring series that have that. And you even label New Hampshire pretty much like it's your Daytona of modified racing. And it really is when you look at all the massive lead changes and all the great stuff that's going on. So let's switch gears for a moment to Saturday and the tour race. Obviously, you were looking to make it 3 in a row at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Not a bad effort over the weekend, and actually help yourself in the points category.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, we didn't lose. We kept ourselves in contention, which was good, and we didn't really gain, we didn't really lose, but we kept the eye on the big thing at the end of the year. So, yeah, we had a early draw for time trials. So with the rain and stuff, I think that kind of we were a little bit at a disadvantage. Qualified 11th, which wasn't terrible, but I felt like we could have done better if we went out a little bit later, with the track circumstances. So we started 11th and got going and kind of was just cruising for a while, and then I started moving around to see, what I had and what was going to work, because it was a different car from the one that we used at the All-Star race. And, started picking my way up there. And I don't know, about probably 20 to go before half, 15, 20 to go before the halfway break, I, figured, okay, let's get this thing up as high as I can and prepare for the, the pit stop. So I got up, I think I got all the way up to the lead and went for a little while. And then Doug got back by me and we were cruising second there. So I said, all right, this is, a good spot. And came in and told him what I think I needed for the second half and made our adjustments and got ready to get going and got back out and got ready to go green there. And next thing you know, I'm getting hooked and in the wall there on the front straightaway. And unfortunately, I didn't really get to see what happened. Obviously, you hear stuff from everybody, but whatever it is, what it is at this point. Everybody's human and everybody makes mistakes. I've made
we're
mistakes
racers.
And
We
other
yell
people
anyway.
make mistakes, so. Unfortunately, I guess it could have been a lot worse, really. So I should be fortunate. We came in. And,
you gain the points. That's you're running for the points, and that's what you got to look at. Is you got to always stay focused. I know it's tough. People say go for wins. Go. If you're points racing like you are, you've got to be disciplined enough to say, hey, I got to look at overall points. And your next race is down at Monadnock, and you had some problems there earlier this year. Do you feel that that's still a good track for you with it, or you're kind of nervous about going back?
No, I'm pumped to go back there. I'm so excited to go back there. I think we've really figured that place out with just going there the last couple of races with the True Value car and the Valente modified car. I'm excited to go there. I think we're going to be really good. I know there's going to be a couple people that are going to be really good, but that's kind of the same thing. Like you just said, as bad as it could have been Saturday, we get in and get the thing straightened out and just get back and get the best finish that we could and take it on to the next week. And, that Monadnock is another track kind of like that. If you're having a bad day, you've got to do whatever you can to make sure you position yourself to at least come out of there with a good finish. So that's what we're going to do. I think we're going to have a car that's going to be capable of winning that race. But at the end of the day, we got to just, think of the big picture and come out in the top 5.
Monadnock being the O'Reilly Auto Parts 200. That will be coming up this Saturday night. Ryan Priest with a 4-point edge over Woody Pitkat in the battle for the championship. And talking about the small victories, he leaped over Doug Kobe, who was involved in an accident, now 4 points back of Ryan. and now focused on Monadnock. And don't forget, everybody, once again, these events are going to be shown on NBC Sports Network. The Whelen Modified All-Star Shoodown coming up this Thursday at 4 p.m., followed by the Andy Blacksmith 100 presented by Donate Life New England. That will be at 6 p.m., both on Thursday on the NBC Sports Network. Woody, thank you so much for being a part of it. Congrats on the All-Star win, dude, and good luck at Monadnock this weekend.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, it's Woody Pitkat, and he is going to be a fierce competitor for a title in a series that had so many chess games played in the offseason as far as driver changes. Woody's right up there with the Buzz 2 Motorsports team. When we return, we've got one half of the winning combination at New Hampshire. We're going to talk to Todd Szegedy about his Whelen Tour victory up at NHMS when we return in a moment.
NASCAR Coast to Coast will be right back on MRN.com.
The following is a message from ToyotaRacing.com. Toyota Racing is all about speed and precision, which is why, right now, my voice is being digitally slowed down. My regular voice has mind-blowing speed and precision. For example, here's how this ad would sound unaffected. Visit ToyotaRacing.com for exclusive NASCAR content and videos, information on our NHRA off-road and other teams. See how fast I normally am, details and stats about all your favorite drivers like Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Matt Kenseth. Complete race results. Actually, this is still kind of slow for me, guys. So, listen to this. You can also find Toyota Racing t-shirts, hoodies, and keychains, Twitter updates, connect with other Toyota Racing fans, and just about anything else Toyota Racing related. Tongue cramp. So, Toyota Racing fans, go check out ToyotaRacing.com. Oh, man, does anyone have an ice pack? NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast. Here's Buddy Long and Brendan Gaughan.
We are past the halfway mark. The cross flags are up, and we're headed toward the victory circle as well at New Hampshire Motor Speedway for Todd Szegedy. That's what he did on Saturday in the Andy Blacksmith 100 presented by Donate Life New England. Big victory. This was one of the hot drivers. And, Brendan, I'm finding a pattern developing for us. We got into a habit of getting away from the winners that had scored a win the previous week, and we were going to the second and third place guys. So we did that with Szegedy. We did that with Bonsignor. What happens? The following race, they win. So we're the good luck charm if we don't talk to the winners, and now we've done that with Todd Szegedy.
Well, but then what do you do now? Does it mean it's still good luck for Szegedy to come back on this week?
I don't know. That's what I'm worried about. And only Todd can control that to a certain degree. But he put the Mystic Missile back in victory lane for team owner Bob Garbarino. And, Todd, we knew it was only a matter of time. We only talked to you a couple of weeks ago. You've been the hottest driver on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Great run at New Hampshire Motor Speedway this weekend.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on, too.
We just got to start with the race itself. I mean, you had a busy weekend. The All-Star race didn't really go the way you wanted it to, but I think that's the fun race for everybody. You guys have been on such a great roll in that Bob Garbarino car for so many weekends. You've been in the top 5 for the last several races. Talk about your race this past weekend and what got you back into victory lane with that famous Mystic Missile.
Well, as you know, these last couple of weeks we've been running pretty strong and having some pretty good finishes. Even at Waterford, we, getting down with 5 to go, I was running the top 10 and got caught up in a little bit of a wreck and had a bad finish. So, take that finish out, and so far we should have had all top 10s. And, it's a tribute to, the guys at the race shop. They're working really hard to prepare the car. We go out for practice, and we don't have to do much. A little bit of stagger adjustment, a little sway bar adjustments, and we're good. We're not always the fastest car in practice every week, but I feel that I have a car that's comfortable and drives well, and that's what I've been focusing on, and it's been paying off. And finally we got that victory. That was one of my favorite tracks, obviously, and very tough to win there. So winning there is definitely a great boost for the team, and always a great. It's always great to have that for your first victory of the year too.
Well, and you said it's you're talking about the team and how great, but it as a race car driver, it feels great when you get in cars that you're making. If your only adjustment you're making on a weekend is a stagger adjustment, as a race car driver, you're smiling pretty big about that. I mean, it's I don't care if you're driving a modified, a Cup car, Xfinity car. If that's the only adjustment you're making, your team is doing a phenomenal job back at the shop. But Todd, you've been doing this a long time. This show is filled. We talked to McAnally about rookies in the K&N East and West, and we just had Pitkat on and talking. we're always talking about young guys, and I'm one of the older guys that everybody talks about, the young kids. You've been doing this a long time. You've been, you're getting wins again. You're kicking some butt right now on a nice streak of top fives, like you said. How does it feel when you're out there, knowing that the modifieds are filled with a lot of both veteran and young? You're kind of right in that dead center of you're the veteran, not quite as old as Stefanik. Sorry, Mike, but you're you're right in that middle there where do the guys come to you? Do you help out, or do you try to say, I'm keeping my secrets to myself?
I'm a very honest guy when it comes to the racetrack, and I give honest opinions. And when the younger guys or even the older guys ask me for advice, I always give them a good, honest opinion. And going to that subject of young versus old, not that I'm getting up because I'm getting up in age. I'm going to be 40 next year. But to me, having life experiences and life-changing events on and off the track, to me, seeing a guy, an older guy or a veteran out there still winning races, to me that's extremely impressive. When you're young, these 16 to 18-year-olds and 25-year-olds, they've already been racing a long time. That's what a lot of people just don't realize, that don't understand. They've all started when they're probably 5 or 6 years old, and they got plenty of racing experience. They might not have the experience in a particular car that they win in, but they've got that racing experience, that attitude, that consistency you need in every form of racing. So to see them win, it's not surprising.
And now you find yourself in the midst of a major points battle, really, right behind Ryan and Woody. Only 4 points separate these two guys, but when you compare and going off of what Brendan was saying, where you were a year ago, and you did have some great runs with Rob Fuller in the LFR car. It's no bad secret, a hidden secret, that you do very well at New Hampshire all the time. But this combination has really got you looking strong at a title run.
Yeah, I'm hooked up with my crew chief from years ago, Don Barker, who was involved. Well, he wasn't necessarily a crew chief years ago. He was part of the team, he was a team owner, a car owner, and then he kind of was part of being the crew chief. And we've always had a great communication together, and he understands what I need, and I think that's a big help. They struggled. The 4 cars struggled last year, and no fault to anybody other than, Don and I just have that combination that we're looking for, that the team's looking for. He's made some changes on the car, and it seems to be working so far. I'm just going to go race by race and just continue what I'm doing. Just not think too much about it. I'm not thinking too much about the championship. Obviously, I'd love to win a championship, but the important thing is to get a win, and we've done that. Now it's just move on to the next track and just take it race by race.
Well, you got that at the right racetrack, too, your marquee event. You said the same thing, though, and this is what a lot of folks out there don't understand. I just turned 40 a couple weeks ago, thanks, so you can tell me you're turning 40 next year all you
50.
Want. Yeah.
You know what, if it helps any, I still feel like I'm 18 years old.
Mentally, I'm 12. Yeah. Mentally, I'm 12, so as long as you keep the young mentality, I think we're all good. But you said the right thing. You got back with a guy that you're comfortable with. It doesn't matter if you're 16, 18, 20, 40, 50. Shane Wilson is my crew chief that I'm back with right now. Very similar to what he's talking about. And it's you just said some of the greatest things as a race car driver. My eyes are going to be on Szegedy the rest of the year for this championship. He's talking about, you're saying the biggest changes you're making, or some of these tracks are just stagger. And he's got this crew chief that he's really comfortable with, who knows him and understands him. I don't care if you're 40 or 18. That's where the 40-year-old has an advantage, when you got a guy that's your crew chief that understands what you're saying. He could tell what you're saying by just the pitch of your voice in a race car.
You're right. You hit that right on the head.
And that it feels good as a driver. I mean, you know it. When you say, it's a little loose, he's like, yeah, that's like a 3 loose. We need to tighten that up. Isn't that a great feeling when you have that and you go to a track every week with that guy and that team?
It is. And it's nice when I can relay the information what the car's doing, and my crew chief makes that change. And when I go back out on that track, that change made a difference. That's a really good feeling. That also tells me that we have a well-balanced race car, too.
Well, again, third in the series points. You guys, no break. You head up to the Monadnock Speedway in New Hampshire this weekend for the O'Reilly Auto Parts 200. Todd, thank you so much for joining us, spending some time with us this afternoon. Congratulations on a great victory, and I'm sure there are a few more to come this year before it's over with.
I appreciate it, and I hope so. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Todd Szegedy, the winner again of the Andy Blacksmith 100 presented by Donate Life New England. Once again, that event will be re-aired coming up on Thursday of this week, July the 23rd on NBC Sports Network. And that's been another great thing, Brendan, for these lower series, for the West, the East, the Whelen Modifieds, and some of the Southern guys as well. NBCSN has picked up the tab and is covering so much of that. So if you're Woody Pitkat, how cool is it to sit there and watch your all-star race?
I was Woody Pitkat 15, 17 years ago. and it is great. You know, Fox Sports 1 and NBCSN have done a great job with our K&N series, our Whelen Modifieds, all of our NASCAR touring deals. They've done a phenomenal job airing them. The talent they're getting to call the races are doing great jobs, and they're veteran, and they learn their sport. And for these guys, it gives them value to their sponsors. They do get to learn how to talk, how to, help their sponsor, help themselves. They've got to learn how to handle themselves, and he's right. The young kids have a lot of experience by the time they get there. But, man, NBCSN and the group that's doing our TV this year, doing a phenomenal job.
Well, if you want to play a little hooky, and I don't know your schedule, you're going to be headed to the Brickyard, but if you want to play a little hooky and veg out and watch some television on Thursday, it starts at 4. The All-Star race on NBCSN.
Watch it.
6 o'clock is going to be the Whelen Modified Tour race, and then coming up at 7, the United Site Services 100 or 70 for the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East, and that's where we're going to stop next. We're going to talk to William Byron about that victory in just a few moments.
Coming back with more of NASCAR Coast to Coast, it's Kyle Rickey and Buddy Long right after this.
Restore shine to your vehicle with great deals on Turtle Wax Spray Wax or Wash and Wax, $3.99 at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Clean, shine, and protect your vehicle with select Turtle Wax appearance products on sale for $3.99 each at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Motor Racing Network has always been your source for motorsports coverage when you couldn't be at the track. Now, MRN is even more accessible with the brand new MRN app, available on your iPhone or Android device right now. This free app delivers all the latest motorsports news and schedules, locates nearby MRN stations, streams your favorite programs, and lets you interact with the MRN team on social media. Search MRN in the App Store or on Google Play. It's the Motor Racing Network at your fingertips, and it's available right now.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast. Here's Buddy Long and Brendan Gaughan.
Well, the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East made it a very jam-packed weekend up at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway with the Modifieds, the Xfinity, and the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers. The United Site Services 70 found William Byron back in victory lane for the 4th time this year, taking the victory and patting that points lead by 29 over Austin Hill. His teammate Scott Heckard was second. We mentioned Kaz Grala, Nick Drake, and Austin Hill, the top 5 in the event. William joins us right now for about the 3rd time this year, and it probably could be even more. But, William, welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, dude. And I'll tell you, you got Brendan Gaughan sitting here right now saying, dude, how did you do that?
Thank you for having me on the show. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Great weekend. Always enjoy coming to the bigger short tracks for us, so it's a lot of fun.
You know, we've been talking on the show a lot. We had McAnally on. We've been talking about young guys, and I got to tell you, I've looked at your stats this year, and when William Byron is on, it seems like everybody else can just kind of take second place and battle for that. I mean, you just when you guys dominate, and it was a great weekend for your co-owner Justin Marks. You know, the Kings Royal, one of his cars. You just dominating New Hampshire, the marquee event for the K&N East. You've got a nice little deal going on there, kiddo. How's it feel to be around there?
It's a lot. It's really cool. Justin's a great owner. We text throughout the weekend, and I don't know a ton about dirt racing, but I do follow it just because he owns a couple sprint cars. So he's a great owner. Like I said, Harry Scott also helps out a ton. So just proud to be a part of such a good organization over there.
No, not to take anything away from your competition out there, and I love Scott Heckard. We grew up in karting together, but it seemed like the biggest challenge you had of the weekend was, number one, the restart towards the end with him, and just fighting a little bit of the bug over the weekend.
Yeah, I was sick over the weekend. I did an ARCA test on Wednesday, so that didn't help being out in the sun all day. But I just had a lot of fun this whole week, and getting ready for the ARCA race this weekend with Venerini Motorsports at Lucas Oil Raceway. But I just had a lot of fun out there. I mean, I love going to these big tracks. I don't know why. It's so cool because you get out there and you're all kind of on the same playing field because not a lot of people have been there. Everyone kind of unloads pretty close because most of the teams are new to it also. So you just go there and you just have to learn the track as quickly as you can. And I feel like that's the funnest part for me is just going to these big racetracks and having all this open track and just having to figure out what the best line is. So that's fun for me. I'm looking forward to Iowa in a couple weeks as well.
Well, has Justin helped you out with any of that? Does he give you Justin was a pretty darn good driver that didn't get a shot in much good stuff. So does he give you a little advice on some of these things?
He gives me a little bit of advice on the road courses, but not much the oval. He just like the ovals. I just go out there and just have to learn for myself. Just try and watch videos. I'm big on watching a lot of videos throughout the weeks to get ready for the
so
race.
You play video games too, probably, don't you?
Yeah, I play some iRacing.
Everybody talks about this iRacing thing. You went out to Sonoma a couple weeks ago, and you ran fifth, and then you just said you have Justin Marks. You went to Sonoma, ran fifth, which was not in your points deal. You were kind of moonlighting out there to get some experience. Now you've got Watkins Glen VIR coming up. Do you feel like your iRacing has helped you? Do you feel like Justin's helped? What's your biggest advantage, you think, going to these road courses now?
I do think that. I think really the iRacing helps a ton just because everything on iRacing is a little bit more black and white than a real car. It's not, you get in a real car and there's a lot more going on, but it does help just knowing your lifting points and knowing the signs that are out there. You do a ride around when you get there and you're like, man, I can't believe they actually have this sign or the curbing exactly like this. But
it is amazing.
So,
it must be an age thing. See, for me, I go find my buddy Andy Lally or Justin Marks, and I have them handwrite me the notes that I've been writing since I coached it, and go through the handwriting notes. These kids nowadays, they go through iRacing, but I will give it this: you are correct. I've watched one of these guys play these iRacing. They go all the way down to cracks in the pavement.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, the attention to detail is just
huge.
It's insane.
It is.
You're heading to Iowa in a couple of weekends, as we mentioned, second to Brandon McReynolds that first time out. One of the few times the West has been able to conquer the East. How big of a win would that be for you, the statement win for you guys? I mean, the West has got such a huge amount of talent that has been built back up on that program, and it looks like you guys really have got a good battle going between the two sides.
It is. I think that's one of those races, our competition director, Mike Ricci, he's like, he kind of feels like that place owes us one just from the last race. And I just, I've worked on a couple things since then, getting a little bit better at some restart stuff. I feel like that race, I got clear for the lead with 5 or 6 to go, and he got me in turn 3, kind of guessed the wrong way. But I feel like going back there, I'm super pumped. It's one of the few racetracks that I've been to before, and so it's my second time going back. I feel like I'll know a little bit better what I need in the race car. So it's really cool to go there again and feel like it's going to be a big show.
What are you going to do when school starts again here pretty quick, kiddo?
Well, I start school like August 25th, but I actually take a couple Liberty University online classes right now.
Nice.
So
I saw the Liberty University on your car. Very proud of you.
Yeah. So it's so they sponsor me full time. This is their second year with me, and I take a couple classes. Taking a communications class right now, so it's not too difficult of a schedule, but still have to keep up with it throughout the week.
So the only thing he doesn't do online is actually get in the car and race. He
Right.
studies online.
School
He practices racetracks online. He finally gets a daggone race car. That would tick me off. He spends the whole time. He's probably the smartest kid in his class too. Are you?
I wouldn't say the smartest kid. I'm honor roll, but I don't know.
You just blew me out.
Hey, I played sports. I definitely wasn't honor roll. So I'm proud of you on the school thing. And just from one piece of advice from an old man. Take a couple business courses at Liberty. Take your communications, your public speaking, all that stuff. You look like you got a ton of talent behind the wheel. Got to hone some of your other skills afterwards. So I'm a big deal on telling kids to keep going to school a little bit. And Liberty University helping you out. That's an awesome deal. You need to thank them a lot and make sure you take good care of them.
Yeah, it said stay in school, William. Stay in school. That's what
Brendan's
stay in
school. As he's winning races, it's really hard to say stay in school. But take it. I'm an advocate. I got my degree. So.
Yeah, it definitely is. I appreciate that. It's important to keep the school going because everyone wants to be a race car driver. But my family, we didn't grow up in racing, so they've always been realistic in telling me, hey, there's a lot of people that want to do this. There's only really, 45 or 50 spots to be a race car driver. So it's important to keep the other stuff in mind even though you're winning or you're running well. It's all important.
A very famous man gave me a quote that is actually the symbol of the Georgetown University men's basketball team.
What did I tell you?
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Big John Thompson, my coach, the logo for the Georgetown men's basketball team is a deflated basketball. And it comes with a statement that says, don't base your life on 8 pounds of air. Because in basketball terms, the basketball only has 8 pounds of air. When you can't dribble that ball anymore, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
Racing, you said the right thing. Your parents teaching you right. You never know when the racing ride can end. So you need to make sure that you always have a little bit of, Liberty University going to help you out with that. You're doing a great job. But like I said, take a few business courses online that you're doing. Take your public speakings. You can do a lot because of racing. You can do a lot outside of it. You don't have to just turn left.
Right. Exactly. I think the other thing is I'm only 17, but I've already, I've been racing for 3 years, and there's so many life lessons I've already learned throughout racing, just dealing with people, dealing with different race teams, that it's going to help no matter if I race or not. I love to race, obviously. It's what everyone loves to do that does it, but there's so many life lessons you learn even in the sport that will apply to other things.
Well, William, you've done a tremendous job. You're a fine young man, and just what you've done on K&N and the late model schedule that you have. It's either 1 or 2, first or second. Everywhere you go, you have earned so much, and you're very humble, and that's going to carry you a long way in life. Congrats on the win over the weekend, and thanks for being on here this afternoon.
Thank you guys for having me on the show. Look forward to watching Brendan in a couple Xfinity races. I'll definitely be watching them at Iowa, so looking forward to watching that, and thank you guys for having me. Thanks, I said.
Hey, that's going to be pretty cool, and that's where I was going to go. William, we will see you in Iowa a couple of weekends from now. We're going to be out there for the MRN gang, and we're going to be watching you guys and also Brendan as well. You have a good day, and take care, bud.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, William Byron, again, a leader by 29 points in the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East. I want to touch on one thing with you. I wanted to do a little bit more with you that we couldn't, obviously, because we were so packed today. 8th in points for you guys. You got a big race coming up at the end of August at Road America, but this weekend is Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's a pretty tough one.
Well, we're eligible for the $100,000 Dash for Cash deal, so the 62 South Point Chevy has a chance to win the $100,000 Dash for Cash. So we have 2 goals. We have 3 goals this weekend. It's 3-prong goal. We go to every weekend. When you drive for RCR with ECR engines, you go every weekend thinking you can win a race.
Absolutely.
Especially a motor horsepower track like this. We feel pretty good. So we want to go try to win the race. If can't win the race, we want to be the first Dash for Cash guy so we can win our $100,000 because, Mommy needs a new, playground set for the boys in the backyard type thing. And then 3, if we don't win it, we want to be one of the top 4 to be eligible at Bristol, our next Dash for Cash race. So we got a lot of goals this weekend along with watching the points. So it's a big week for us.
Have you had fun today?
I had a great time. Thank you very much, Mr. Long, sir.
No. I got too many people calling me sir. And by the way, I am 50 years old. Do I look 50?
Not a day over 52.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Craig, note to self, he does not come back on this show anytime in the future. No, it was great. And does an hour go by fast or what?
Too fast.
It does. Kyle and I always say, okay, it's time for the second hour to now start. Now let's really get into the meat of it. We apologize because we've had such a good time. We haven't had a chance to get into the meat of our results for the Whelen All-American Series. Hats off to Scott Steckley, though. He picked up the Canadian Tire Series win last weekend in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. That was hard. That was a tongue twister there. Mexico Series will be in action in a couple of weekends at Autodrome Miguel E. Abed. And the Whelen Euro Series is off until September 12th and 13th when they go to Italy. And I just want to tell you once again, thank you so very much for being a part of our program. Best of luck out at Indy this weekend. I'm going to see you at Iowa for Kenny Wallace's final race as well.
I will be there also. Excited. And Matt Wallace racing with his uncle. So a lot of history in that Wallace family. Really cool to be there.
Big weekend at Indy coming up. Don't forget, NBCSN has got all the action for the modifieds coming up this Thursday starting at 4 p.m. For Bill McAnally, Woody Pitkat, Todd Szegedy, and William Byron, our guest. Our thanks out to Brendan Guaghan. Our special thanks to Robbie Mays and Craig Moore. I'm Buddy Long. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to NASCAR Coast to Coast. Tune in next Wednesday at 1 Eastern for more talk from local tracks all over America. NASCAR Coast to Coast is also available on demand in the MRN.com Media Center or download from iTunes or Stitcher. NASCAR Coast to Coast is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.